Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. And so today's video I'm going to be showing you some books that I've read recently that I highly recommend. So let's just get right into it. So the first book that I have read recently and I highly recommend is Juniper Hill. So this is the second book in the Eden series and this book is so good. I'm going to have a reading vlog up very soon on my channel if you want to, like, you know, keep an eye out for that. But this book is about Knox and Memphis, and Memphis is a new mother and she has decided to move into this new town, Quincy, because she's originally from New York and she's got some like trouble there and she wants to start like a new life. She kind of is forced to start a new life, so she's moved to Quincy and that is where she meets Knox because she is staying at like his place area, whatever, and also working at the place where he also works and is a chef, and his sister owns the place. They obviously like connect because at night time Memphis like struggles with her son Drake, like crying, and then, you know, that's like an issue. Knox is kind of like the grumpy and Memphis, you know, is kind of like the sunshine, so I suppose you could say it's grumpy sunshine. But the way that Knox like treats Memphis and her son is great. Trust me, you'll love this, and it's just so good. And it also has like a bit of twist. Like the first book, if you don't know, has like a mystery to it. This book has a bit of like drama to it, and I suppose you could say mystery as well, but so good. It was a 5-star read for me. Loved it so much and I highly recommend. I'm gonna stop talking about it now because I could talk about it all day. Okay, next is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So I read this recently, obviously, and this is about Anastasia and Nate. And Nate is a hockey player and Anastasia is a figure skater. And so Anastasia ends up needing a new partner to, you know, dance with her, like her figure skating, and Nate ends up, you know, volunteering for that. So I'm gonna read the back of this one to you so that you know it's described better. Anastasia Allen has worked her entire life for a shot at Team USA. It looks like everything is going according to plan when she gets a full scholarship to the University of California at Maple Hills and lands a place on their competitive figure skating team. Nothing was standing in her way, not even the captain of the hockey team, Nate Hawkins. Nate's focus as captain is on keeping his team on the ice, which is tricky when a facilities mishap means that they are forced to share a ring with the figure skating team, including Anastasia, who clearly can't stand him. When Anastasia's skating partner faces an uncertain future, she may have to look to Nate to take a shot. Sparks fly, but Anastasia isn't worried because she could never like a hockey player, right? Like, that is just so good. It is kind of like forced proximity if you think about it, because she kind of has no choice but to get his help. So I suppose you could say it is obviously hockey romance, we all know, and it's just amazing. So I would say if you like the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy, you would like this. Next is To Hate Adam Connor by Ella Mays. So this book is a single dad trope. So this is the story of, so this is about Lucy and Adam is a single dad who's also a famous actor, and Lucy is Olive's best friend, which you get in Tale of Jason Thorne, you get her story. But in this one is obviously Lucy's story, and she ends up basically spying on Adam Connor. She ends up, like, you know, in on his gate, I think, watching him, and she obviously gets caught, and so they have a very first impression, and so Adam Connor ends up sending her to jail, basically, and so she thinks that he's rude, and he thinks that she's a stalker, and so they don't, like I said, they don't have the best first impression, but then she starts babysitting his son, and we all know where it goes from there, and it's just such a good book. Loved it. I read it in one day. Okay, so the back of this isn't too long either, so I think I'll read this one to you. Adam Connor is an award-winning actor and undeniably heartthrob. He is also recently divorced, a single dad, and he happens to live right next door, and it might be rude to stare, but Lucy just can't help it. The ladder might have been a little too much though. One night when she's indulged her stalker side, Lucy sees something terrible and has no choice but to intervene. She had the best of intentions, but Adam can't see past it and has her arrested. After that night, they're sworn enemies, even though Adam knows he actually owes Luciola. So yeah, very good. Next is Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this book is very heartbreaking, very sad, but very good. So I also read this in one sitting, which isn't surprising for a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, to be honest. So this is about Elsie, and she meets Ben at a pizza shop, like when she's picking pizza up, and they start to, like, you know, connect, date, whatever, and then eventually they get married. And then a little while, all this happened very quickly, and a little while after they got married, noting this was like they eloped. A little while after they got married, Ben ends up getting run over by a truck. Now this isn't a spoiler because it's on the back. And so obviously Ben ends up passing away, and so this whole story is you seeing Elsie like dealing with the grief of losing her husband, but also you are seeing the grief of Ben's mother, because Ben's mother didn't know that he was married. So when she like is at the hospital, and even Elsie's at the hospital, and Elsie's like, I'm your son's wife, obviously his mother isn't gonna believe it, and you are seeing these two people grieving and how they are coping with that, and it's such a good book, but very heartbreaking. So if you fancy crying or fancy being heartbroken, this is the book for you, but it's so good. And another Taylor Jenkins Reid book I recommend is After I Do. So I read this one recently as well, and this book is about Lauren and Ryan, and they are married, and they've been married for years, and then eventually their marriage starts to fall apart. They argue a lot, they don't want to be around each other, and then that is when they decide, you know what, we're going to take a year break and then see what happens, because like, see if we still love each other, see if we want to actually work out this marriage. And you are basically experiencing that. So the book starts off with you seeing them like meet, and over like the years you see them like meet, then like go on their first day, I think it was, then get engaged, married, and you see like their lives basically throughout the years, and then eventually you see them like, you see the marriage start to fall apart, and then after that you start to read like them without each other, and how they're coping, and how they feel like, you know, their lives are going without each other, and whether they miss each other or not. And then, you know, such a good book. I absolutely love this, and I also read this in one sitting. I also have a reading vlog on this if you would like to check that out. I can't remember what book. Oh, reading for 24 hours straight. Very good. Another book I highly recommend is The Do-Over. So this is very good for Valentine's Day, which is in a couple of days' time. So this book is about Emily and Nick, and Emily ends up having to live the same day, Valentine's Day, over and over again. So she is like, it's Valentine's Day, and she's very excited because it's her first Valentine's Day, I believe. So Emily, it's her first Valentine's Day. She's very excited to tell her boyfriend that she loves him, and then she ends up seeing her boyfriend cheating on her with another girl. And after that, obviously she's like devastated. She goes home, and she ends up, well, she finds one out that her dad tells her, and then she's like, I'm gonna go and sleep at my grandmother's house. She goes there, she goes to sleep, and then she wakes up, and it's still the same day. It's still Valentine's Day, and she's living the same day over and over again, and she's like basically it's different experiences of like, what if this happened in a different way, or what if this happened. And that is where she meets Nick, because every single day she's basically crashing into him, which might be a bit of a spoiler, but yeah, it's so good. Absolutely love this book, and the ending's quite interesting, and you wouldn't think this book would be interesting, like reading about the same day over and over again, but it actually was. I read this in one sitting. It was so good. Absolutely loved it, and I highly recommend, obviously. And the last book I'm going to recommend to you in this video is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. So this book is about 6 friends, and they are going on a trip in an RV. They're driving away, and the RV gets shot at, and they're like, what is going on? And the person outside, who's the shooter, ends up finding a way to like speak to them through a walkie-talkie, and it basically says, one of you have a secret. You have to find out who's keeping the secret between all of you, and whoever's obviously like, basically who is the shooter after, and they've got to figure that out, because someone in the RV knows the shooter's secret. And it's very interesting. It's very intense, keeps your attention. So good, and I definitely highly recommend this because I absolutely love this. So those are all the books that I recommend. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe if you want. It's free, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.